It's fascinating how we're programmed in this country that you think you're safest working for another organization that's commoditizing you. The safest place for you is you taking care of yourself.
Are you safer in a corporation that's using you as a commodity and can get rid of you tomorrow? Or are you safer building in the long term, building all these skills that you can rely on and leverage over time so that if that does happen, well, it won't take you long to get back up, get going again.
Welcome to the Level Design Podcast, a podcast for architects and engineers who want to thrive in this industry by creating more freedom, fulfillment, and financial security. Join us in uncovering how to restore value and honor to the unique people who choose to be designers and caretakers of our built world, and why it's essential to the future of our society, our industry, and our planet.
Hey, Scott.
Miles, how are you?
I'm doing well. Anything crazy happening so far today?
Yeah. We've had some folks that were in the collaborative that felt like they had enough knowledge to go out on their own and leave the Level collaborative. And 4 of them this week went back.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So it's interesting. It's like raising a child. And then they're like, I'm growing up, I can go out. And they go out and they're like, no. So
right.
It's been an interesting week.
Wow, that is crazy. And of course, you're talking about the Level Collaborative and the ecosystem that we've been creating and fostering and tweaking. And, we have engineers, architects come into the ecosystem, join the collaborative, get access to kind of the services, the suite of services and support, mentorship. And then what would push them out? What would pull them to want to go do completely on their own?
Generally speaking, what comes to mind on that to me is we spend a lot of time where there are structures of A&E don't do is we develop people quite a bit. We spend a lot of time developing them as a person, an entrepreneur, how to be an entrepreneur, how to cause their own success. And so I think after a while, some of them are emboldened to say, I'm empowered. I'm empowered to do my own thing, and do that. And the world of A&E, at least in the U.S. and other parts of the world too, it's gotten extremely difficult. I mean, to be honest with you, you're in the work too. It's extremely complicated today to run a business, brand it, market it, be efficient at both the business side of it, the complexities of business, all those complexities. The marketplace itself the expectations are high from the customer base. They're extremely high demands for service, really not very tolerant, right? The clients in the world are not very tolerant. And you're in that space and just the marketing, how to be seen. And then we haven't even got into the technical work yet. The technical work of A&E, I believe, to be one of the most difficult. The practice of A&E in this country is one of the most difficult work environments. And then we have all this accountability. To practice A&E is similar to a doctor. You go through all kinds of educations, accreditations, and certifications by the states to operate. And then you have to insure yourself against threat. We're one of the few careers we got to actually carry insurance to work, like a doctor.
Yeah.
Malpractice. So it's this environment which we mentor and teach. And then at some point, I think they're emboldened to say, yeah, I can do this. And then they step into that really, really chaotic world and come back to the collaborative and all of the robustness of the collaborative and the tools and the assets and the resources, and still have really, really strong encouragement from the organization and from us to be independent, be an entrepreneur, go after whatever you want to go after, the freedoms of working from home, flexibility, balanced life, and acquire as much as you want. There's no ceiling. So,
exactly.
Yep.
I think what really stands out for me is a lot of design professionals are taught to be an independent a little bit more and to kind of, how do I say it? You're not really taught like social interactive, collaborative skills, right? Because you're just doing math at the end of the day, right? Not to like try to oversimplify it, but you know what I'm saying? Like,
We're complicated, yeah.
it's a different type of brain. And so when you're put into this collaborative, I think it takes, what I've seen is it takes some unlearning, rewriting some programs in your software of, oh, okay, this isn't a traditional firm and I have support, I have mentorship, there's experience here that I can tap into. There's different skills that I can learn now that completely empower me. And it's exciting, but it's also still part of a collaborative. So there's probably a push for some people to take, that confidence and go out, because it's exciting to try to go out and do it on your own. But really what level is that ability to do it on your own and not fall flat on your face, because it is so overwhelming, all the things you have to do as an entrepreneur, let alone an engineer or architect from a technical standpoint.
Yeah. It's at the environment at level, what we created was a lifelong learning environment. And no matter where I think you are in that, if you're entry level or mid-level or at the end of your career, the environment is just this constant learning environment here.
Right.
And all of those times, and each of us are different. And the joy of it is taking all of those personalities and us having the focus and the resources to cause each one of those individuals into a successful career that's lifelong when without threat, which is super interesting to say, you're not threatened here at level. You're actually still working for yourself in your communities and collaborating with others all over the country. You're not in this fear environment anymore.
Right.
Yeah. You was like, okay, can I go to my kid's ball game? Or, what, fishing's really good right now. And I just balance life and I want to go do that. But I'm threatened by, if I, leaving, that I'm, I've got these risks of losing my job or somebody else taking my job or performance or all these things because I want to do something else balanced, right? Mm. All those fears that we have in these structures at level we don't have.
Right. Yeah.
But a big time learning space here.
Yeah.
And mentoring space. Yeah.
Okay. So let's zoom out for a minute. It's been 8-9 years now? I kind of lost count.
Mm-hmm. We concepted 8 years ago.
Mm-hmm. So 8 years of tweaking and evolving and bringing people in and growing. What does it look like today when someone is out there in the A&E industry and they're working in a firm or they're working on their own, maybe a freelance kind of thing, or as an entrepreneur with their own business? Let's start there. What are they doing? What do they look like? And what is the kind of pain point, if you want to call it that might make level attractive to them?
Sure. Well, we're a new way of working. So we're the third way of working. You used to, conventionally, you're working for someone else, might be a person or a firm, but you're getting compensated and working and being told what to do, depending on your position. As you grow, you're going to be more of a leader, hopefully, but you're still serving a for-profit company. That's the thing that's important. The entity or the structure that you're within when you're working for somebody, usually it's a company and usually it's a for-profit, which is great. Nothing wrong with that. A big driver, right? Okay, so you're in that environment, or you're like, I really feel like I can do better, have more flexibility, or I want to make my own decisions about what I want to do and how I want to do it. I'm going to be an entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. So I'm off doing that. And that space is getting really, really difficult in the United States to be an entrepreneur. So those are your options.
And you've done both.
Yeah.
You've personally done both for a long time and saw all the ins and outs, succeeded, failed. Like you've kind of seen the gamut of the process and
private, public, contracting, consulting. Yeah. And it's interesting when you throw in government, a lot of engineers are currently employed by government kind of entities. And it's not necessarily for profit, but somebody's telling you what to do. Actually, more people are telling you what to do. But yeah, there's that work environment too. But yeah, I've worked in all of those. Yeah.
And so like 8 years ago, this started. And to oversimplify, once again, you basically thought there has to be a better way where we can take a different approach.
Yeah, I mean, in the US, we're declining in numbers. Our design community is declining in numbers and in a growing industry, for arguably 4 to 6% annual growth in the built environment in the US is in a growing industry, but yet we're declining. And our pay is flat and depending on what type of engineer architect you are, or declining in compensation. So the question I had was, why is this occurring? It makes not a lot of sense. Something else was happening, that we're in a growing industry and we're declining in numbers. There's declining interest in the youth. Our society in general in the United States may not even know what these folks do in our society. So there's that, which is concerning. For me, it was concerning, and others, that category. But why are we declining, and why are we in this situation? And probably one of the most needed aspects of our society is our design community in the built world for maintaining and taking care of and creating our human conveniences, the things we enjoy every day. The people that are caretakers of that are disappearing in the U.S. The caretakers and the designers and the people that cause these things and guide these decisions in our government bodies, these talents, these brilliant people are disappearing.
Mm-hmm. So there needs to be, if you zoom out, there needs to be a more attractive career path so that, looking into the future, A&Es are excited to go into the field, and there's no ceiling, there's no kind of corporate structure that's pressuring them and putting them down, making it harder to sustain their career.
Well, that was the question, is what, when I started looking into this, and I was like, what's happening? And then I figured out what's happening. Then it was kind of that, why is it happening? And then really why it's happening is a number of factors. But then it was surprising numbers of, like even the engineers, young engineers and architects who are graduating, how many of them were, once in the workplace, were quitting the field altogether once they experienced the work. And really my focus on creating Level was really futuristic for the American designer. Was, why are these youth leaving once they get through a very difficult education? Why would they get into it and then leave? Like 50-60%, depending on what you read. Right. Why is that happening? And so I spent a lot of time on that because I wanted to design, problem solve, typical engineering mind, problem solve the future of American convenience. Is, this can't all be done overseas. The built environment in the United States can't be done all overseas with overseas talent. We need talent here. And that was my concern. And that's the reason for Level. That's the concept of Level, is create a new business structure that was focused on that, not focused on just making money, but focused on preserving and growing those folks for the future of the built world in the United States.
Yeah.
So we had a solid future in our human convenience world.
Right.
Looking for a new opportunity? Interested in being part of an expanding network of independent engineers and architects who are thinking differently? Level Design Partners is on a mission to create prosperity for design professionals, the industry, and the world, using innovative business systems and a culture of collaboration. We believe that traditional education and firm structures want you to be a cog in their machine, depriving you of key skills needed to thrive, thus commoditizing an entire industry in the process. Gain access to skills, tools, and systems by partnering with Level Design Partners. Learn more at leveldesignpartners.com.
And what I kind of realized is that this is being done in a lot of ways in other industries, and our industry is kind of always a little bit behind. It's pretty old school, right? So I think from a business model, technology, whatever you want to call it, standpoint, it was a little bit behind. And what we're doing is using business models, technology, collaborative culture, ideas, that kind of values and stuff like that.
Yeah. I think what happened to us was actually we're very progressive, but we were progressive in the technical work. It was our minds are and still are, you talk to them, we enjoy our work. And so our designers are very focused on very progressive things in design, right? Or how we execute the practice. So we're very, very deep into that. And it's very progressive stuff and fascinating and accelerating and new tools, new efficiencies, and that's all going on. And that's where our minds went because that's what we do. But the support group around us changed.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why Level, our focus and drive and Level was the support around those folks and that work that changed. The support for those activities became more towards leaving that community service, that medium, small engineering architectural firm in our communities, owned and operated by an engineer architect. That's what built our country. It's moving away from that to business, larger and larger corporate for-profit companies run by business people for profit that are actually using those engineers and architects now for commodities. So as we had our minds on that, we didn't see that our support group was commoditizing us.
What I'm hearing is that, and what I've seen with Level is it's pretty cool because you kind of get the best of both worlds. Like you get to be a part of a team.
Mm-hmm.
You get mentorship, support, all that good stuff that comes with some of the traditional ways and,
mm-hmm.
Technologies and stuff. And then you also get to go out on your own and you get to choose what kind of work you want to do and kind of create your own schedules and
mm-hmm.
build the career and body of work that you want
in your communities, and you share work with the folks in the collaborative all over the country. So the boundaries, technologies let us erase those boundaries. But yeah, we're going back to working in our communities person to person, very old school in some ways, under modern platforms and marketing. And, Level does the hard stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We do that big marketing and that efficiency systems and business systems, those things large firms do. We do that on behalf of the solo entrepreneur in their community. That's what we do. That was our third way of working that we're offering.
Explain that. So you have, what are the three pillars, if you will?
You can be an entrepreneur, work for yourself, or you can work for somebody else. And we're a third way of working. We took the best part of being an entrepreneur, that working for yourself, that freedom, balanced life, self-decision making, and we kept that. But we also have this large organizational power and safety, collaboration, sense of place, sense of, I belong to this tribe, this club. We took that and we brought it over too. So the power of an organization with the flexibility of entrepreneurism.
Right.
And we created Level.
So to wrap up the journey, if someone, an architect, engineer, kind of fits into one of those buckets and they're interested in this, so what happens? What's that first step of, okay, I'm interested, I want to see what this would mean for me?
The first thing that we do when we onboard and folks join, the first thing we talk about is that this is a different corporate structure. This is a public benefit corp. The purpose of this company, this organization, is to cause their entrepreneurial success. So the work we do is a public benefit causing the entrepreneurial success of them so that they can provide those human conveniences and sustain that infrastructure and that health and that environment and that economy in this country. So that's the first thing we teach them, is they're in a different structure. And then we go on to things like their responsibility. It's different. Their success is solely self, entrepreneurs, right? It's not for everybody. It is for a few, but it's not for everybody. If you really need somebody to tell you what to do every day, and that's comforting, this is not the place, right? So we teach them about that. Hey, nothing will happen unless you do something. So we teach them that, right?
So someone who's either already an entrepreneur or someone who is interested in seeing if they can move into that and kind of be self-sufficient.
Man, I got to totally honest. It's fascinating how we're programmed in this country that you think you're safest working for another organization that's commoditizing you.
Yeah. It's a
How did that happen?
bait and switch for sure.
I don't get it.
Well,
The safest place for you is you taking care of yourself.
right. And building assets and systems and skills so that no matter what happens, like let's say, stuff's always going to happen. The market's going to crash. The economy is going to tank. The wells are going to dry up. Stuff's going to go down. But are you safer in a corporation that's using you as a commodity and can get rid of you tomorrow?
Mm-hmm.
It might feel like it. Or are you safer building in the long term, building all these skills that you can rely on and leverage over time so that if that does happen, well, it won't take you long to get back up, get going again.
Yeah, and we're big on diversifying everybody's work. Working in your communities, you're going to end up with a lot of diversity, being able to do a lot of different things in the small, medium world. So the levels adapted to really that small, medium work in our communities. That's the foundational work. Yes, we do large stuff, but we will always be doing small, medium, and diverse work in our communities. And for American designer, be whatever you are, that's actually safety. That's a safety net that you're able to do many things in your community because there are many things going on in your community at that smaller and medium scale.
Awesome. Well, we're bringing on people faster, I think, than ever at this moment. We're growing. We're across the country.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Collaborative is growing. We're in multiple states and we're adding multiple more. It will be throughout the country. And when I say we, I mean each one of us as a collaborator. So each one of us as an entrepreneur helping each other out, collaborating. It's very similar to a guild kind of in mentality where we're a family and we're supporting each other and referring work, teaming. And each of us, it's a very flat organization. There's no management. There's no supervisors. There's none of that. Everybody's at an equal level helping each other out. We have older, talented folks passing on mentoring. There's mentoring incentives everywhere, and there's numerous meetings every week available for questions. And so most of our team reports that they've never been cared for or learned as much as they're learning here, because that is what we do, is knowledge gaining and sharing. That's every day here. So yeah, it's super fun, super exciting, and it's growing organically. And I would say we're out there letting people know we're out here, but it's organically growing.
Right.
Yep. It's very fun. It's a very fun place to work.
It's very fulfilling seeing what you do, going on some site visits with you and some of the engineers. It's just cool to see what's actually happening right before your eyes. A younger engineer who's very skilled is taking their skills to a whole new level, learning all the little details that will allow them to be able to do this stuff on their own completely in the future and then pass that wisdom on. I mean, it's just so sustainable, and it makes me happy because a big problem that we keep talking about is this downward trend of architects and engineers because they're not cared for like they used to be. And why would you want to be a part of that? But then you see what we've been so lucky to be able to figure out how to do with Level. And you can see the impact.
Yeah. It's an American problem, though. I would say that the rest of the world, engineering and architecture is thriving.
I think it's a capitalism greed thing.
I'm not quite sure how the built world has lost its favor in this country with the youth. I'm not quite sure why. It's extremely rewarding and extremely fun and interesting and complicated. But I don't know why we're gravitating to a lot of the get rich quick stuff or whatever that is, when there's so much rewards in compensation in our structure. Compensation's wonderful, but there's so much reward when you do something to help your community or help somebody out in your community build something or fix something or repair or solve a problem or recreate a building and change it into another useful use again. There's so much that's rewarding here. And I'm not sure, other than I don't think we talk about it enough.
Yeah.
And part of the reason this podcast, right, and some other things that we have planned is to talk about how fun this is and how interesting it is and how what a thriving life it is. And I don't want to make anything else wrong in this conversation, but my God, this is a blast. So, come join. This is great. This is good. This is exciting stuff. You can touch it, you can feel it, you can use it. It's cool. It's really cool. And the rest of the world thinks so, but I don't know why we don't.
Yeah. A little bit of a wake-up call, I think, for the U.S. So excited to see.
I think we're at a net loss. I think we lose 20, 30,000 engineers and architects come out of school, and there's 70,000 or something like that in the built environment. If you focus on engineering in the built environment, of all the trades, like about 70K go into the system, about half of them quit. And baby boomers are exiting at much higher rate than that. The baby boomers, they loved engineering back in the day, and they're leaving and retiring, and we're at a net loss. And China and India are, we talk about this number, are graduating over 1 million a year.
Yeah. Jeez.
A year.
That's crazy.
And we're at a net loss.
That's wild.
And that's why one of the focuses of Level, right? And we got to create a better environment. We got to make this better. And that's what we're doing.
Social media, the internet, the digital world is very attractive, but it can go away or it can go down for a day or a week or a month, and the built world will still be there.
Yeah, you can't, you got this good boned factory in your community and it wants to be converted into another use, or apartment complex or restaurants or whatever it wants to be converted, and that's not AI. AI isn't going to do it.
Yeah,
I mean, AI may take away a lot of software code writers,
right,
but it's not going to take away that local built world, right?
If anything, it'll just help you do what you do best.
AI? Oh,
yeah.
Of course. Yeah. It's an exciting tool. Going back to the engineers, we're always looking for fun tools, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you, Scott.
All right. Thank you, Miles.
Thanks for listening. If you found value in this episode, support us by sharing it with someone or leaving a review. In upcoming episodes, we'll discuss the realities of the industry today and what the future may look like. It's our belief that positive changes for architects and engineers is not the obligation of the industry, but rather a choice you make to reimagine how we work together. We invite you to join us in creating a world in which design professionals thrive. Learn about our mission and get involved by following us wherever you listen to podcasts and subscribing to our newsletter at leveldesignpartners.com.